All right, crew, it's a brand new year, so of course I need to make sure that your cup is full of inspiration. So I'm starting our season 2 of Coffee and Conversations with William Whitlow, who is sharing his story that started from the inside of a jail cell to now being a business owner. No matter how behind you feel in life, no matter how deep a hole you've dug, I want this year to be your year. And Will is gonna share with us how he did it. So, Will, you and I are sitting here at a table at Community Matters Cafe where we first met, and this is actually your first year as an entrepreneur, not necessarily working at Community Matters Cafe, but working with them. How does it feel to be back in the building?
Oh, that's great. I love it here. This place was a huge part of my life. I still know all the guests, all the staff. This place is great. I will always be a friend here for life, for sure.
And you'll always have fans here. We were grabbing our coffee earlier and people just said, hey, you're really missed. Like, we miss you. Like, I don't know if you got to hear those whispers, but that has to make you feel really special here.
Absolutely. Yeah, as we talk a little bit more about my story, that wasn't always the case. So it's good to hear things like that.
Interesting. Well, listen, I love a segue. So, one thing that we talked about is the fact that this is a brand new year. It's a time for people to really start building the life they want brick by brick. And you are a person and a product of the Charlotte Rescue Mission of Community Matters Cafe because you were triumphant in your sobriety journey. But can you share your story with us and just what that looked like walking to where you are now?
Sure. It's always an honor to get to tell my story. People in recovery such as myself, this is something we get to do, so it's always a privilege. So thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me to do that. I'm a native Charlottean, 42 years old, born and raised here in Charlotte. I had a great childhood. My father was an addict, but outside of that, I had a good, loving household, I got into drugs and alcohol, I guess late teens, and then early 20s is when I got introduced to heroin and cocaine and the harder drugs, and then it just became that vicious cycle of addiction, jails, streets, rehab, get out, 30 days clean and sober, start all over again, relapse, and that went on for years and years. Unfortunately, and fortunately, because it's built me and made me the person I am, today. So I can truly say today that I'm grateful for my past, which a lot of people don't understand. Well, how can you be grateful for all the hard times and the bad times? But really, I am grateful because it has made me the person I am today. So let's see, 2019. Well, we'll go a little prior to that. I said, there was that vicious cycle of jail, streets, rehab, rinse and repeat over and over again.
Just something they kept repeating a pattern and pattern. Yeah.
Right. My family was always there for me. They always loved me. They always supported me. But there at the end, they just had to step back, and in 2017, I got arrested for the last time. Long story short, I had sold someone some drugs, and unfortunately, this guy was a friend of mine, actually, and he passed away. He overdosed and died, and then I was charged with his death. So I was charged with manslaughter, and I did about 18 months in jail for that. That was in 2017. I got out in 2019. While I was in jail, I decided, this is it. Something's got to change. This isn't the life for me. This is not what God has planned for me. I've got to change. I didn't know what that was going to look like, how it was going to happen, but I knew something was going to change. And a lot of little things were happening even when I was inside of jail that I didn't even necessarily even understand at the time. I had decided that I was going to quit cussing in jail. Which is a weird place because you're in jail. You're supposed to be hard and tough, and and
that's like saying I'm going to quit cussing in a locker room,
right?
Yeah.
And I did. I quit cussing. So but I see it now, and I understand that that was a lesson that God was teaching me. If I couldn't control something as small as my words, if I couldn't control something as small as my tongue while I was in jail, I was never going to be able to make these big changes when I got out. So, I started making these changes actually in jail now, or then. And then when I got out, as you mentioned, yes, I had nothing. I It's funny. So I was on drugs, so I was really skinny. I weighed like 140 pounds. And then if you know anything about jail, I just sat in jail, ate honey buns and ramen noodles, gained 100 pounds.
I can't even picture that on you because I only know him as like Mr. Fitness of Community Matters Cafe.
I gained about 100 pounds. The clothes that I went in with, they had to give me a jail uniform or like a nurse's scrubs to wear when I got out because my clothes didn't fit anymore. I had nowhere to go. Like I said, my family was there for me. They loved me, but they're like, you gotta figure this out. So I came to Charlotte Rescue Mission. For my experiences in sobriety, the small times I had before, I knew about the mission. I knew it was a great place, and I knew it would work if I allowed it to. So I came to the mission.
And so I think that's such a big key word that you said right there is if you allowed it to work. And I think that's something that is so incredible to me on that journey is there was a moment where you decided and paint me that picture when you walked out of jail. I mean, we've seen it in movies, but you, like you said, you had your bag of stuff, you're wearing nurse's scrubs and your mind is going, what do I do now? Like, how did you know that was going to be the next step? How is this time different for you?
In recovery, there's a phrase we have. It's called the gift of desperation. You know, I'm willing to do anything. You know, I've tried it my way long enough. Surrender to win. You know, that's another popular saying. We have all these cliches in recovery. The gift of desperation. I was willing and ready to do anything. At that point, if someone would have told me that, you know, go dig a hole for 20 hours a day and that'll keep you sober, I was willing to do it, you know, do anything. I
think that's incredible that you found that realization. I'm so happy that you did. And I think I get misty because I see you. When I met you, I didn't know you were a product of this program. He was talking to me about interviews and promoting here, and we were talking marketing and everything like that. And you're just this physical appearance of strength. I met your wife and your newborn baby, and it seemed very idyllic to me. So when you were kind and strong enough to share your story with me, that's why I really wanted to have you here, because I think a lot of times we have a physical picture in our mind of what addiction looks like, what life after can look like. And I think you shatter the mold in so many ways. And you've done that through so many different ways of hard work. So you've got your bag, you've got your scrubs, you show up at Charlotte Rescue Mission. Tell me what happened next.
Yeah. So, I told you I'd gained 100 pounds. I'd laid in a jail cot for 18 months. My feet had actually swollen up 3 sizes too big. I had to wear flip-flops, you know, because I wasn't moving around. While I was at the mission, there's a lot of great volunteers. There's a lot of great programs, classes, a lot of educational piece that they cover. There's also an organization that's here at the mission that's called F3. I don't know if you're familiar with F3. It's Fitness, Faith, and Fellowship.
Incredible. Okay.
That is a group that actually started here locally. I think 2010, 2011. And it's just a group of guys. They work out outdoors. And it's a men's accountability group. They accept anyone. It's completely free. And they come here to the mission twice a week. And they get the guys, they get the residents, and we do an outdoor workout. And they have a lot of rules, but one of them is leave no man behind. So here I was, you know, I couldn't walk up the stairs, you know, without getting winded. My feet were swollen, you know, and I decided that, you know, this is part of my change, you know. We'll talk about, you know, mental, physical, and spiritual. Well, this is the physical part, you know, I had to change. So F3 comes along and I'm volunteering, I'm working out with them. They leave no man behind. I was the last guy, you know, they encouraged me. They, you know, walked beside me when I couldn't run any further, and they were here every week. And every week I showed up, and every week I got a little bit faster, and every week I got a little bit stronger. And but the F3 organization is great. I encourage anyone to Google F3 and find a workout, you know, for any man looking for that at any stage in their life.
I love that they had their own gifts and they showed up to share those with others. I heard a phrase this week that says, don't be selfish with your journey. So I think that's a perfect example of they had something along their journey to give and they shared it with other people. So that's the physical portion that in a really incredible full circle moment has played into so much of your life. So before we move on to those next chapters, what else was happening at the Charlotte Rescue Mission? So we start out with the honey buns and the ramen noodles and the flip flops, which is again just so far removed from my image of you. And you start to get faster, you start to get leaner. What's happening on the inside during that time?
So a huge, I think, my opinion, and a lot of people in recovery share this, the number one barrier, the number one reason people relapse, one of the hardest things for an addict to overcome is guilt and shame. There's so much guilt and shame in addiction. You know, the things I did to do what I needed to do every day, you know, that I wasn't proud of. And those things were inside of me. Years of these have built up. And sobriety is scary, you know. I knew how to get high and live that lifestyle. I did not know how to be sober. I did not know how to face these guilt and these shame. I did not know how to do these things. And that's scary, you know. So many years I had just done the easy way and gone back to what I knew. So this time, facing that guilt and that shame, that head on, I started attending a local church, Vision, and I started going there for a girl, of course, but it became so much more. We
love a love story.
Yeah.
We love love.
But, you know, she took me to church, and I was a few months sober, and the pastor, I don't remember anything about that sermon except for one thing that he had said. And he said that God doesn't love us for who we are. God loves us in spite of who we are. And that just like broke down the last little wall that I had, you know, and that guilt and that shame. I just gave it over to God. I said, you know, it's yours. I can't, you know, take it. And he did. So getting over that guilt and that shame while I was here at the mission, that was probably the biggest thing that I did.
And for me, you know, as someone who hasn't walked in those shoes, it breaks my heart to know that there is so much guilt and shame, because for me, this is like the bravest thing you could do, is choose yourself, is choose your own life. One day we're going to have tissues on the set. One day we're going to learn. One day we're going to sponsor by Kleenex. It's going to be great. But to me, that's the bravest thing you could do. And so I love the fact that you chose yourself, you chose your life, even if it was because a pretty girl turned your head, whatever the catalyst is that you decided to choose that life for yourself. Before we continue, I love talking about what we can do if we are somebody who's never walked in addiction, who might not quite be able to feel that, but how can we be the best friend, the best neighbor, the best community member? Is there anything we can do to help you not feel that guilt, to know that you're safe, that you're protected, that your story matters?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's right. Because we are all affected by addiction one way or another.
One way or
it's not
another.
ourselves, it's our family member, it's our friend, it's our coworker.
And it might not be drugs or alcohol. It might be your phone. It might be pornography. It might be, you never know what it could be. But like, we are so all imperfect. We just might not have spent that time in the jail cell. Like our guilt just might not be seen from the outside like it is on public record. So just how can we step up for people who are making this choice?
Gosh, when I look back, I see all these seeds that were planted in my life. I see all these moments, these God moments, that all these people that were introduced to me and put in my life well before I ever made that decision to get clean and sober. Those people that loved on me, those people that were honest with me and told me the truth, those people that told me about resources, those people that told me that I'm better than this, that God has more for me than this, you know. All those seeds were planted, all those bricks were laid in that foundation. So when I was ready, they were already there, you know. So just loving on people, telling them the truth, you know, honesty with love.
Yeah.
You know,
honesty with love. Like, perfect recipe. Like, that's the math. It's like honesty plus love will equal something that's really beautiful. So I'm picturing you in this in this chapter of your life. You're really starting to thrive at the Charlotte Rescue Mission. You're working out with F3. You're making that internal change. You've got a crush. We love that. Love a Hallmark woman here. And what's happening next to get you from the Charlotte Rescue Mission to Community Matters Cafe? And if you could also just, I would love for you to share what this place is, because we talk about it a lot here. This is a learning laboratory. I think a lot of people just think it's a place to just come have amazing food and coffee, and it is. But this really gives people tools and confidence.
Sure. Gosh, we could go on and on and on. And I guess a good segue to me getting at the cafe was I I had my wedding reception here. So that girl who we can talk a little more about in
We
a little
absolutely
bit.
can. Hold on, we're rewinding
Okay,
the
we
tape,
gotta rewind.
the fake tape here. I didn't realize that was that much of a jump, which I adore and I love. So, okay, so we have a crush. We're at church. We're listening to the preacher man, and we're with a cute girl at church. Walk me through after that.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, we're not. We just got married. Hold on, rewind. Run it back.
So let me even think of where to start on this.
I love
one.
it. I'm sat.
Okay, so I had finished my time at the mission. I got a few months. I got that good foundation of sobriety we're talking about, and I decided that I'm going to go to a sober living house. It's called an Oxford house. You have minimal rent. You get a job. You got some accountability, some rules, some regular, a halfway house, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but we're starting that independent living, that autonomy.
Right.
We're making those choices with some support.
And I actually got really lucky. The house I was in, this isn't always the case, but a wealthy lady donated her house to the Oxford, and it was in Myers Park. It was on the Freedom Park Trail, the Greenway,
Fancy.
So, and then COVID strikes, right?
Got it.
So all these meetings, all the AA meetings shut down. The churches, were Zooming.
Right.
No recovery meetings. Everything shut down. This is the very beginning of COVID. Everybody's going crazy,
And you're in this house.
And I'm in this house, and I'm a few months sober. And I'm like, this is not going to stop me. I said no matter what. So what are we going to do? We're going to throw our own recovery meeting in our backyard. So we built a bonfire. Some of my friends called their friends, who called their friends, and a young lady named Callie showed up. And all she knew was some guy named Will has a house in Myers Park, and he's throwing an AA meeting. And before,
I should go to a party for less. Tracks.
And by the time she realized it was a halfway house, and I was 4 months sober and didn't even have a driver's license, it was too late. I had her. So that was the start of our relationship there. And she took me to that church, and introduced me to that pastor, and introduced me to get back in that lifestyle. And we got married, and we had our wedding reception here at the cafe. What a better place to go back to the mission who started this whole journey for me. And then shortly after that, the cafe on Instagram, she was scrolling and saw that the cafe was hiring, that Charlotte Rescue Mission was hiring. I was working in the restaurant industry. Even in my addiction, if I had a job, it was at a restaurant. It's pretty common for people in addiction to work at restaurants. So.
But it's also a very vicious cycle business sometimes. And
Absolutely.
we love and adore our culinary arts people, our restaurant programs, but it is a tough life. It's
Right.
tough.
So I'm back in the restaurant industry, newly married. I'm working nights. I'm working weekends, 3:00 in the morning. And then this opportunity presents itself at the cafe. She's like, I think you should do it. Automatically, boom, I'm not good enough. The guilt, the shame, all these things. But they wouldn't want me to do that. And she said, no, I think you should apply. And so I did. I applied, got the job, and it was the best. I was here almost 5 years until a month ago. One of the absolutely the best experience of my life. I learned how to work again. They gave me such an opportunity. So when the mission, they gave me all these tools, when I was a resident, and now I was able to put them into practice, and they stood by what they gave me. They gave me that opportunity. It wasn't just, they weren't just talking. When the opportunity came available, they hired me, and the mission hires a lot of their graduates. So the mission, it's not a 90 days and they slap you on the back and
Right.
see you later.
Safe journeys, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there are so many programs out there that want to help people, that want to get them sober. And I think that any effort is incredible effort. But why is it important to kind of have somewhere that takes you from that journey to get to sobriety and kind of guides you through what working looks like? Because when I met you for the first time, again, there's so many things that I'm replaying in my mind, because when I met Will, he was the first person who met me in the cafe. Welcome, hi, I'm Will Whitlow. Let me show you around. Showed me the kitchen, showed me the coffee bar, showed me around, explained the different seating areas. I mean, it was, you're so confident in that. And, to think that you weren't even sure that you should apply is a journey in itself. And in 5 years, that's a really short amount of time if you think about it. So you mentioned earlier, because we're not going to bury a lead here, you mentioned earlier that everyone wasn't always the biggest Will fan. So what did those first few months look like here?
Well, gosh, the love that's at the cafe. I mean, it's in our name. Community matters. All right, I'm community. You're community. We're all community, and our names. We stand behind our name for sure. You know, the love that's in this place is unbelievable. This isn't a restaurant like any you've ever been to before. We have two types of guests here. So we have the first timers and the regulars. Yes. Because once you come that first time, you become a regular. You know, so. The program here is great. To talk a little bit about the program piece of the cafe. So I mentioned the mission next door. That's a 4-month program. That's absolutely free of charge, where you get that foundation. During that 4 months, they're going to get their GED. They're going to attend AA meetings. They're going to go to chapel services. They're going to learn about the disease of addiction. And they're going to get a great foundation. And then one of the things that sets this program apart that we talked about, it's not just 90 days, slap you on the back and see you later. They offer a life skills program for their graduates here at the cafe. So I just graduated the mission. I'm 4 months clean and sober, but you know what? I've been around the block before. I've been in this spot before. I've been a few months clean, but maybe I still got some of that guilt and that shame. You know, I haven't worked in 20 years. That's scary. Now you want me to go get a job and pay bills and,
you're
scary.
like, what's LinkedIn? What am I doing?
Right.
Yeah.
So the mission offers that life skills program, that extension program, where they can come here to the cafe for another 6 months. And they're learning every aspect of the restaurant industry, but what they're really doing is they're learning these life skills. Something as small as looking you in the eye when I'm speaking to you, getting that self-confidence. If you want to think about it as a crawl, walk, run, fly. At the mission, I'm crawling, I'm starting to walk. Now I've come to the cafe, now I'm jogging, now I'm running, And then once they graduate, the 6 months here at the cafe, man, I'm flying. We have a recovery living services after that as well.
So many different opportunities, like you said, for people just to really brick by brick build that life that they should have. One story that was shared with us here was Megan, one of the smiliest, bubbliest faces that I've seen here. I got to see her graduation, and that's something I also want to talk about, is when you get to applaud these people after they've worked here and they've built that life. Megan shared her story with us, and I asked her what she did on hard days as someone in recovery, and she just said, the hardest day sober is nothing compared to a day in addiction. And I think it's hard because I look at all these people that we've gotten to know through coffee and conversations, and that I get to see every week. And again, it's like I don't have that picture of them. I see them as someone greeting me as a hostess, somebody who knows that I like the 2 shots if it's been a hard day, and my my dirty chai, or if it's Angel, asking me if I want that same salad I got last week. So people who really pay attention and love on their community, like I just see that translate. And so when you have people here and they do get to graduate, if you're ever here, just tell me what those celebrations look like.
Absolutely. So not a day goes by here where we don't have a Megan that's graduated that comes back in just to give us an update. Hey, I got my first job in 10 years today. I got a promotion today. I got my kids back this week. I now have custody of my kids. I reunited with my family. Me and my wife are back together. All these wins, all these great stories that we get to hear every day.
I think that's incredible. You mentioned earlier crawling, flying, and walking and running. I want to go back to the fitness part of your journey, because I think that's something that's come really full circle for you, and also something that's served with some setbacks. But you mentioned before we started recording that trail running was something that was really important and special to you. So how has fitness kind of carried you through this journey of sobriety?
Yeah. So like we talked about earlier, it's mental, physical, and spiritual, right? Fitness has been great for me. It's given me a great outlet. To have trail running was huge. Early in sobriety, I did a lot of trail running. It took me a while to kind of, this dawned on me one day. I was out running on a trail, and trail running was just like recovery, because I had to stay, when you're on that trail, you have to stay present in that exact moment. I have to be in that moment, literally looking down, step by step. If I'm looking ahead, I'm not going to see that root or that hole. If I'm looking behind me, I'm not going to see what's in front of me. I'm going to trip and I'm going to fall, just like in recovery. If I'm looking at my past and I let that guilt and that shame creep back up, I'm going to fall. If I'm looking ahead at oh, look what I'm going to do, me,
Right.
I'm going to trip, I'm going to fall. So, it's that presence and it's staying right in the moment.
Right in the moment. So as you maintained that presence, that thought process, how did that guide you through your different years here at Community Matters? Because like you said, you walked in, you've gotten the job, and then now 5 years later, you're starting the new year as a business owner. Give me a snapshot of what that looks like for you.
Gosh, so yeah. Well, I told you my wife, Callie, we had our first son was born in August, Max, so you got to meet.
Yes, he made his TV debut on WBTV. Let me just tell you, Will came back a day early from paternity leave so that we could have an interview together. I just think that speaks so much to how much you care about the mission of this space. And little Max joined us on camera. No one cared about me being on there. Literally, my producer was yelling in my ear. She was like, "Show the baby!" Like, and it was great. What a great day.
So yeah, game changer, obviously. And over the past few years, while I was working at the mission, I had a little side business where I would sell and install home gyms for people. Great way to side hustle and pay the bills, right? Yes. And when Max was born, game changer. I want to spend every moment that I can, with Max. So I was able to take this opportunity and take that business and go full time with it. One of the hardest decisions I made was leaving the cafe. And let's not use that word leave, because I'm sitting right here today. Still volunteering at the events. I'm still around. This place I will never leave this place. But I didn't want to, 20 years from now, look back and say, man, I had this opportunity. I could have spent more time with my family, and I didn't do it. So I did. I put my notice in at the cafe, and I went full time with my business, and I've been doing it for about a month now, split my time between family and work, and it's great.
When you take a look back and you remember walking out of jail in those scrubs, in those flip-flops with your bag, did you ever think that you'd be sitting here on a broadcast talking about your story and how you are now a business owner?
Heck no. No, things like this weren't supposed to happen to people like me. That's what I thought. Anyways, that's that disease talking. That's that guilt and that shame talking. But no, absolutely not. And that's what I would like to encourage anyone with. You never know how good it's going to get, but it will never get there if you don't put in the work.
So putting in the work, choosing yourself, choosing that sobriety. I want you now to also talk to people who have the opportunity to give someone a second chance. How did your family transition from loving you and setting a healthy boundary to welcoming you back? If we have somebody who we want to give a second chance to, who has chosen that life, who's chosen themselves, and we want to be there to support, how can we welcome them and keep them safe? No,
that's great. If they're like my family, they've been waiting on this day for years, so it wasn't hard. They'll see it. They know when it's time. They saw the changes I had made. They saw how my life, changed. The things I was doing today, and that was, it wasn't difficult at all. They weren't know why I didn't do it sooner. Would probably be the only thing. But time takes time.
Right. I love that phrase. Time takes time. You also mentioned just re-entering the workforce. So, this is something that can be shared anywhere that has the internet. And so for anybody who doesn't have a Community Matters cafe, who doesn't maybe have an opportunity for really supportive employment, what would you say to somebody who got a resume from someone, they run that background check, they see that maybe they have things like this on their record, they see these things, but they understand that this person is in recovery and is looking for a second chance. What would you say to them? Gosh,
I would say give it to them. My friends, my whole network is people in recovery, and people in recovery, I tell you what, they are smart. They are crafty, ingenious. They know how to get the job done. I know personally, I've been able to take all my bad skills, if you will, that I use in addiction, able to turn those upside down and use those today, I was going to do whatever it took to do what I needed to do back then. And now I've flipped that on its head, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do what I need to do today, in a positive way.
No, I think that's great because like you said, those were, I mean, street skills, if you will, for like you said, there were things you felt like you had to do for different reasons back then, but that same hustle, that same drive, that same commitment can be channeled somewhere else. And I do want to speak to employers, like if you have the opportunity to give someone an opportunity, take that chance. So full circle moment, rounding this out here and talking about how you've come back to this table. What are you feeling going into this year? It's a brand new year. You're stepping into it from addict to entrepreneur in a really short amount of time. So I think, first of all, I just want to say that I'm proud of you. I've only known you as someone from the local news station, but you've helped us be so involved. It's literally why we kept the show here. We came to shoot a quick promo and we've stayed. We moved in. And you welcomed us. So I just want to say that I'm incredibly proud of you and the life that you built for yourself. What do you want other people to build from themselves?
Gosh, honestly, no matter what's going on in your life, you just staying humble, which sounds like idyllic or whatever, something that somebody says, but especially in my life, I have to do that. All these things are great. All these things that were given to me, those things were given to me. I put in a little bit of work, but God gave me the opportunity for those things. Those were all things given to me by God, and I could lose them. If I don't continue to make these right choices, if I don't continue to do A, B, and C that I need to do every day. So anyone's out there, they can do it as well. Like we said earlier, put in the work.
Put in the work, and like you also said earlier, time takes time, but you made that choice. So I think that for people going into this new year, and I do always think that, any kind of resolution shouldn't wait till the new year. If it's like, if you decide I need a 6-pack on a Tuesday, let's start doing sit-ups on a Tuesday. You don't have to wait. But once you decide to make that decision, what advice would you give for people when it just gets hard? Whether it's sobriety, whether it's just putting their phone down, whether it's applying for new jobs, getting out of a dangerous relationship, like what would you tell somebody when they feel the need to go back to the familiar?
Gosh. So, a couple years in my sobriety, I had something that I thought was a setback. I had befriended a lawyer, actually here in the cafe. And this lawyer had a nonprofit, and he worked with people that were in my situation, and he got their records expunged so they could go on to, get a better job and do these things without a record. And he told me, I got you. I'm going to take your case pro bono. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to get your record expunged. I was so excited. I'm telling all my friends, I'm going to get my record expunged. Obviously this is God's plan for me. This is going to open up all these doors. I'm going to be able to do this, and that now. And he took my case, and long story short, he came to me and said that the judge denied it, and I was not going to be able to get my record expunged. And I was crushed. I just knew that this was God's plan, and he was going to get this done, and he was going to make this and this and this happen for me and open up all these doors. And I was really bummed out, and I was explaining that to a friend of mine who's a lot smarter than me, and he just stopped me. He said, "Will, he said, you missed the point." He said, "Jesus expunged your record a long time ago. You've already, but the slate's been wiped clean already. It doesn't matter what's on a piece of paper, And I try to remember that every day.
Yeah. So, any day can be your first day. So I think that's what we've learned here. And before we go, I just want to ask you if there's anything else that you want people to know about someone who's in recovery, somebody who's looking towards that process, just any misconceptions. So much of this is I want people to just know that we can all get better if we all get better. I think that's big.
Yeah. It's never too late, obviously. You're worth it. If someone could see into the future what their life could be, but I just encourage anyone there's plenty of resources out there. Of course, I'm partial to Charlotte Rescue Mission. But no matter where you are, there's plenty of resources. There's churches on every corner here in the Bible Belt. So just do something. Put some action into it.
Well, another thing that I know that we can do is, like you said, walk toward that thing that's scary, whether it is sobriety, whether it is leaving, like setting yourself up for success. Something my boss told me this week that she heard on a podcast was there's the scary thing and then there's what you want on the other side of it. So do you feel like you've gotten past your scary thing and you're in the what you want part of your life?
Oh, for sure. But that's kind of the paradox thing. Now it's something else and then it's something else and it just continues to get better. And, who knows what the next 5, 10, 20 years, the trajectory is unstoppable.
That's right. I was like, the path is yours, and I'm so excited to see what this year brings for you. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, just choosing that time with your family, with Max, and how can we support you? I mean, listen, first of all, it's first of the year, so I know everybody is getting the sun chips out of their sweatpants or whatever you look like sitting on the sofa right now if you're watching this or listening to this with us. So, a home gym is a obviously great way to alleviate that excuse of like, I couldn't get to the gym. Well, there's no reason because it's in your garage. So how can we support you and also step into that healthier lifestyle?
Yeah. I would love to install a home gym at your house. I think we're going to put my link on your website.
Yes, we'll share it. Yeah, we'll share it in this article. Make sure you get linked up. And are these kind of customized for depending on the people and their home? Like, what do these look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We can start small. We can go big. Whatever you need, we'll take care of it.
You dream it, he can build it. So no excuses. We are going to be motivated. We're going to be sexy because everyone's going to have a home gym. And we're going to make sure that we are supporting you along that journey. And I'm just really proud of you. And I'm grateful for you for sharing that story. Thank you, Will.
No, well, thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. If that did not overflow your cup, then I don't know what will. My last question for you, and it's something we ask all of our guests, is what fills your cup at the end of the day?
Oh, geez. Right now, it's my family. For sure, God and family. I could lose everything else, and that's more than enough.
Sounds like a beautifully full cup to me. Thank you, Will. Thank you. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for us here on Coffee and Conversations. Go brew something beautiful in your own life. It's a new year, and we've got this. To everybody out there, thank you so much for joining me for Coffee and Conversations. Now, if you want more stories of motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that can fill up your cup when it's empty, no matter where you are, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more.